and Britain.
And I just explained you the difference.
Listen. And the question is, if it is unequivocal that Germany was a criminal empire,
Yes.
why is it questionable that Britain was a criminal empire?
Question. What was my answer?
No, you've given me some hypotheticals and some
hypotheticals.
analogies. I'm asking you
What did I
specific.
say?
I'm asking you specific.
What did I say?
I'm asking you. No.
What was my answer?
I'm asking you a question.
And what was my
Listen,
answer?
please. Listen. I'm asking you specifically about Britain. Your answer did not relate specifically to Britain.
It did.
No, it didn't.
It did.
It related to all empires and analogies and equivocations with the concept of empire in general. I'm asking you about Britain and Germany. And one second. And the difference between why it is unquestionable that Germany was a criminal empire. You are not questioning
No.
that.
Yeah.
I know it's not. Sorry.
Yeah.
You are not questioning that. You are not questioning whether Germany was a criminal empire. You wouldn't question it at all. But you are questioning whether Britain was a criminal empire. So I'm asking you, in terms of Britain and Germany as empires, what is the difference? Why is one unequivocal and one, there's equivocation? Please explain it to me.
Can I ask you a question?
I would like you to answer my question.
Well, you just asked a question for my answer, so I can ask you.
No, you haven't answered my initial question. I'm asking you to answer my initial
I did, but
question.
you didn't understand. So that's why I'm
No,
gonna ask you a question
it's not a
that
lack of
you
understanding.
how do
Again,
you know- how do you know?
again, I
Have you
repeat
explained
myself.
it to me?
You did
There's
not
no
answer
point-
the question
there's no
in
point in
relation
repeating
to
yourself. I
Britain
haven't
and
answered
Germany. You answered
I've
in
heard
relation
you, you
to
haven't
one
heard
second.
me.
You answered
You
in
haven't heard me
relation to
before.
Germany and the concept of empire, not Britain
Are you
in
gonna,
particular.
Do you want to answer or you don't want to answer? Because you
I'm-
can.
you
ask a
asked
question.
me.
If
You
you want
asked
to
me
speak over
to
me,
ask you.
then you don't want an
You
answer.
asked me if you could ask me a question. I'm asking you to answer my question.
And I'm trying to answer you.
Go ahead.
But you know, I make it a rhetorical question. Is that better?
I'm asking you to answer my question.
I'm gonna answer. Do you know what a rhetorical question is?
Yes.
It means you don't have to answer it. It's just a way of explaining something that I'm going to say, which
Go
is
ahead.
an answer to your question.
A rhetorical question doesn't necessarily answer my question. You do understand that, though, right?
It's part of an explanation.
Go ahead.
Of an answer to your question.
Go ahead.
Okay, right. So, my question is, in order, if you said, is Britain a criminal empire?
No, I'm not asking you Britain's a criminal
Yes,
empire.
so you're asking.
No, I'm asking you if Germany was unequivocally a criminal empire
Okay.
by your designation, by your understanding.
Okay.
Why is Britain not? Why is there a question over whether Britain was a criminal empire or not?
Now, in order to answer that question, would you agree that you have to have a different definition of what a criminal empire is? Would you agree?
I don't understand what you mean by different definition.
I didn't say different, a definition.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you need a definition?
Oh, yes.
Okay, well, what's your definition of a criminal
My definition of a criminal empire is an empire ruled by people that commit crimes against other people. In terms of crimes, I'm talking about things like murder, genocide, theft, pillaging, robbery, rape, torture, etc., etc., etc.
Right. Okay, so that included killing, right?
Of course,
Right.
yeah.
So would you agree that
One more
every
time.
single empire since the beginning of time has always, in order to become an empire, has done killing? Because you go to war and you kill somebody. Would you agree with that?
Not necessarily, no. So,
No.
in respect to the fact that, listen, in respect to the
not
fact that,
necessarily.
no, not necessarily, no.
No,
There are things that are referred to as empires that didn't facilitate themselves via warfare. Even if they engage, for example, in West Africa, there were many empires. They had wars, yes, but
Did they kill people?
excuse me. But the growth of the empire wasn't facilitated by warfare. There's a difference. So it doesn't mean that the empire. One second.
But if
It
they
doesn't
kill-
mean. Listen.
is
Tune
killing
in.
something-
Listen.
is killing
Tune
something
in. Listen.
criminal?
I'm not finished. Tune in. Listen. It doesn't mean. So empires can fight wars without basing the building of their empire upon criminality. Does that make
Doesn't
sense?
matter how they built it up. If they do
Of course it
criminal
does.
activity, are they
Of course
criminal?
it does.
If you do a
Yes,
criminal activity,
but
are you
I'm
a
saying,
criminal?
but again, you're not answering my question. You're actually deflecting.
I'm trying to explain it to you. I'm trying to explain it to you by defining what it means to be a criminal empire, right? In order to decide.
It's amazing to me.
why
It's
this is a
amazing
criminal
to me.
empire and that's
It's
not,
amazing to me.
right?
No, but it's amazing
You have to
to me.
define what a criminal empire is.
You know, the
and
reality
that's
is,
what we're doing now.
the reality is that everything that you're saying would also apply to the Germans. But you are unequivocal in about their criminality.
How's that the same?
Because you are making creating a definition of empires in general, which would mean criminal empires. Based upon the fact that you're saying that all empires act in this way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
You're
right.
saying that all
Definition-
empires must be criminal. Yeah. But yet you are.
I didn't say
but
that. I
yet,
said in your
but
definition.
yet, no. I said they're criminal empire. I didn't say all empires are criminal. I said
No,
Britain.
I said your definition of a criminal empire would include all empires.
Britain is it was a criminal empire. That's what I said. Right.
And I'm trying to understand your definition.
One second, please. One second, please.
And I said that every single empire has done criminal activity.
You are questioning.
Therefore, every single empire is a criminal empire, according to your definition.
You are questioning.
So you're just saying, are they an empire?
You are
yes,
questioning.
Britain's an empire.
You are questioning my designation of Britain as a criminal empire. Yes? Whilst you are questioning my designation of Britain as a criminal empire. That's what you're questioning. But you are not questioning my designation of Germany as a criminal empire.
That's right.
So I'm asking you the question. What makes one unequivocal and one equivocal?
I explained it to you. Okay, I explained to you right from the beginning, right? And it's because you asked me a question on that I gave you this whole explanation of the definition.
Let me be more clear.
What I said right at the beginning.
Go ahead.
Okay, what I said right at the beginning is that Germany killed people regardless of their war, regardless of if they didn't want to be involved in it, simply because they were Jews, they were being killed, right? Whereas Britain killed people in war. So I'm going to take this land. We're going to have a war, you're a soldier, I'm a soldier, boom, I kill you, right? So that is why the Nazis
weren't at war? The Nazis didn't do what they did in their context of war?
The Jews were not, there was no war between the Jews and the Nazis.
So who said that there was a war between the British and anybody they fought against? If you come to my land, yes, and declare warfare against me, does that make it legitimate?
You said about legitimacy.
Exactly. So what makes so hold on. So one second. So what is So when the British went to the land we call now Americas and committed a genocide against people, was that warfare or was it genocide?
You mean the
Which people? Yes, the indigenous people of the Americas.
I agree.
Was that genocide?
Yes.
When they wiped them out?
Yes.
Well, did they wipe them out because it was warfare, or did they wipe them out because they went there with an intention to take their land?
I think that is,
when they went to Australia and wiped out the indigenous people of Australia, yes, was that a crime? Was that a crime?
Did the British do that?
Of course they did. What are you talking about? When they went to New Zealand and wiped out the indigenous people of New Zealand, was that a crime? What makes the existence of British Empire as a criminal enterprise equivocal and Germany unequivocal? That is the question.
Okay, let me explain.
The British Empire killed more people than the Germans did.
Let me tell you something.
The British Empire killed more people than the Germans did. So what makes one unequivocal and one equivocal?
You want me to respond or not?
The Bengal famine in World War II.
4 million people.
Okay.
Bengal in World War II, brother.
The
Bengal famine in World War II.
4 million people against subjects of the British Empire that they were not at war with. They were not at war with India, yet millions of people in a British protectorate were killed.
Okay.
Let's
go through this. Okay. So number one.
You're not answering my question.
Because let's go through this. You're not answering my question. What, does that make any sense to you? If you want me to answer it, you have to let me answer
my question for 10 minutes.
You just brought up a new point, and now I'm going to respond.
It's not a new point.
It is a new point. You said, what is the difference? I said, when you're killing a people, right? Then that is criminal activity, right? When you're just going to war, it's not. Now you're giving an example of where the British have killed people.
I can give you more.
Great, right? And then those examples.
What's the definition of war?
Exactly.
Look, if you're not going to let me answer, there's no point.
Go ahead.
Okay, Shaq, should we let him answer?
It's a relevant question.
Let him answer. Let's give him the floor. Let's see his answers so we can debunk some of his answers. Sorry, bro. Sorry, I'm blaming. Okay, sorry. Okay, do you want to go?
Okay. Now, so when it comes to, you have to look at all these things individually. Okay. Now, I'm not a historian. I don't know the details. Okay. So I'm going along purely on what I know, which is not a lot, right? Now, when it comes to the Bengal famine, right? I don't know much about it. The little bit that I looked into it, it's not so clear what the details behind it, right? So if somebody takes food from an area, it's not the same thing as wiping people out. Now, is that criminal activity? Yes. What exactly the stories? I haven't researched it. I don't know. When it comes to America, my understanding is most of the Native Americans were wiped out by the Americans, not under the British Empire didn't decide to wipe them out. Okay, so that's wouldn't be considered that the British Empire is criminal when it was not done under their agreement in auspices. When it comes to Australia, I haven't researched it. I don't know. If you're talking about these things, what I would say is that America clearly was a criminal in that activity, and you could even go as far to say as that at the time they were criminal empire. Now they're not doing it anymore.
America, Britain.
I don't. Well, that's what I'm saying.
America was a colony of Britain.
America was a colony of Britain.
Up until 1776.
Okay, but I don't know when exactly they wiped them out. I don't know, right? And I don't know who decided to do it. I didn't know that was under the British Empire, right? That they decided. And I still don't know. I mean, you claim it is. I don't know if it's true. It may be true. It may not be true.
Are you a Jew?
Yes, I'm a Jew.
Are you a Zionist Jew?
Can I finish off what I'm talking about?
Go ahead.
Right. So now, that is clearly criminal activity, right? When an empire is criminal when they are doing that activity. You can't say that, I would argue that an empire, once it stops doing a certain activity, right, is no longer a criminal empire, right? You can't say an empire is criminal long after they've done it. So when they are doing that activity, I would say they're criminal, okay? So, anyway, that's your answer.
But can I ask you
One second, sorry. Are you a Zionist Jew?
It's nothing to do with discussion.
No, it is. It's very important for the conversation.
It's completely
Are you a
irrelevant.
Zionist Jew?
It's completely irrelevant.
Are you a Zionist
It's
Jew?
completely irrelevant.
It's not
It's
irrelevant.
completely irrelevant.
And I'll explain to you why. I'll explain to you why.
It's irrelevant.
One second.
If you're gonna- if
I
you-
will explain to you why.
Well, it's
Because you
irrelevant.
came to ask me
I came to
about
ask
my
you.
opinion
I
on
did.
Israel and Palestine.
I did.
And you were concerned,
Yeah.
yes, because of what Brother Leo Muhammad said
Yeah.
about my position on Israel and Palestine
I
in that
wasn't
respect.
concerned. I was
And I've given you
interested.
1 second, and I've asked you a question multiple times that you don't seem to be capable of answering.
I don't think
Which
capable
is
of
in
understanding
relation
it. There's
to
a big
sorry,
difference.
which is in relation to the fact that I've called Britain, the British Empire, a criminal enterprise. Yes? And you seem to want to challenge, yes, my designation of Britain as a criminal enterprise. You feel like you have the right to do that, funnily enough. Without
You feel I don't have the right to my opinion. Wow, look at this.
Hold on,
Look at this. That was amazing.
based upon your own admission, a grasp of the history of the British Empire. You don't know, yet you feel you have the right to. You should ask questions before you question. 1 second.
I said, as far as I know,
1 second. 1 second.
I didn't come here
I asked you a
and
question.
said I know about British Empire.
I asked you a
I
question.
came and asked you a question.
I asked you a question.
I asked you a question. It's not.
I asked you a
And I
question.
gave you and
I
explained
asked you a
what I
question.
know about the British
I
Empire.
asked you a question.
And I explained to you
I
why
asked you a
I do not
question.
think it's a British
I asked you a
criminal
question.
empire based
I
on
asked
what
you a
I know.
question. I asked you a question.
And I answered
What
it
if I said to
many
you?
times, clearly
If I
in
said to
full.
you, I asked you a question.
You may not have
If I
understood
said
it.
to you,
You may not accept
I
it,
asked
but
you a
I've answered
question. If I said to you, would you consider it questionable that Germany was a criminal empire? You said to me, no, it's not questionable. Those were your
I
words.
wouldn't say
So
Germany.
why
Nazis.
is the question is?
I wouldn't say Germany. No.
Okay, so Germany was
definitely
only
not
a criminal empire when they began to attack Jews.
When they started killing innocent
When they
people
were
that
killing
not at war
when they
with
were
them,
killing people
then
in
they were not-
when
then
they were
yes,
1 second
then
when they
a
were killing
criminal
people in
empire.
Namibia, was it a criminal empire?
If you're killing people,
When they
that
were
are not at
torturing the
war,
Herero,
I
yes,
don't know that
in
history.
Namibia, was Germany a criminal empire?
look,
When the
I
Germans
can have a question
attacked
without
the
knowing
people
history.
of what is now
I can
called
have a
Cameroon,
question without
yes,
knowing
was it
history.
a criminal
I can have a
empire?
question without knowing
And this is the point that's being made.
Now,
yeah?
there's no question. It's very clear. It's very clear. I've answered you, and I'll answer you again because
You haven't answered.
Because you don't listen.
But you haven't
And my
answered.
answer is very
But you haven't
clear.
answered.
Yes, it is. It's very
You
clear.
haven't answered.
You don't want to listen. And even though I've said it 10 times,
Say it one more time for
I'll
me.
say it again. It's very, very clear.
Obviously, I like the intelligence to understand what you're saying. Come again, one more time for me. Go
I'll
on.
say it one more time. Okay, it's the last time. Okay, the answer is very simple. If an empire goes and kills people that they're not at war at, in other words, if I go to you and say I'm going to kill you, regardless of what you do, what you say, or anything, that is criminal. So if it does it in Namibia, does it in any African country, it does it in any place on the planet, it doesn't make no difference. That is criminal activity. Okay.
That's what the British did. That's what the British did. So is it questionable? So is it questionable that Britain was a criminal empire? Is it questionable?
At that time, then there would be criminal. Yes.
When Britain colonized the islands of the Caribbean and held them
But I don't know that history. I'll have to research
but that's the
that.
point I'm trying to
I'll
make.
research that.
You only
No,
know
no.
the history of your own people, and this is the problem. And you feel like you have the right,
That's
based
why
upon
I-
your lack of information,
Based on my lack
to
of
make
information,
to make
I
an
asked you a
equivocation.
question.
To make an
I asked you a
equivocation.
question. You're not allowed to ask a question.
No, you didn't
You're not
ask a
allowed to-
question.
Yes, I did.
That's the point I tried to make.
I asked you. I said, what is your opinion on? Because I saw him speaking. I said, what is your opinion?
I gave you my opinion.
Okay. And
I gave
asked
you
a
my
few more
opinion.
questions.
I
You seem to be
consider.
very
I
upset that I haven't-
consider. No, I gave you my
You seem
opinion.
to be very
I'll
upset
repeat
that
it
I
for
asked
you
you a question.
if you don't
And you seem
remember.
to be very
I
upset
gave you
and
my
I answered
opinion.
your
I
question.
consider
But that's
Israel
okay.
to be a part of Western imperialism, and as a part of the Western imperialist axis, it is a criminal enterprise. No less than Britain,
Okay.
no less than America, no less than France, no less than Belgium, no less than Portugal, and all of the other Western criminal enterprises.
Is it still one?
Go ahead.
Is any nation that attacks another nation out of aggression rather than defence a criminal nation?
Yes, I would consider
Any nation that does that,
Yes,
just
I would
purely
consider
out of
that.
aggression,
Yes,
is
I
a
would
criminal
consider-
nation.
I would consider
Okay,
that.
that's fine.
Against that person.
Yes, I would consider that.
I mean, do you accept that most people would not use that definition? Since every single empire has always done that. Now, they may be wrong, but it's just not. It's just not. Do you accept that? Do you accept that?
What is that? Sorry, you've been wanting to speak for a long time. So
That's completely incorrect, brother. Just because we can put a part of society and history together, so they were criminal then. It doesn't necessarily mean attack British people now, and so on and so forth. But sorry? What you're telling me is just because the empire was criminal then,
I'm an
we're not
African
call them
from
now.
Caribbean.
Can we call them criminal now?
Yeah,
Can we call them that? For example, Nazi
would you
Germany,
say
let's
you
just use
came
that.
from
We
originally
can
a
look at
nation
Nazi
of
Germany. The
some
reality
kind?
is, also just
I came from many nations of many
wasn't
countries.
elected.
So my ancestors
Nothing
were.
specifically.
No, I wouldn't say nothing specifically.
Tanks,
There are
whatever,
many-
Berlin,
there are many
control.
specifics. So
And
I would have
control
ancestors that
you
became
control it by
Ashantys.
it was a
I would have ancestors that became
it could be
Ashantys.
So I'm
I would have
not
ancestors that
journey
became
today.
Yoruba.
No, it's actually.
I would have ancestors
Well,
that
neither would I.
became Igbo.
Yeah,
I would have ancestors that
Neither would I.
became
That's why I said
Congo.
I don't think
And more.
Germany
All of that would make up
Germany is
more.
not an empire. Right?
From Jamaica.
Even if it was an empire, I wouldn't consider it a criminal empire. But it was an empire. It was Nazi.
would
It was
not
Nazi.
Generally speaking, what I found what you
original
were saying, you were making
tribe or
between
nation
Germany and
be guilty of the
on the
same
basis that
activity?
Germany's activity.
No,
There are
not
many
Germany.
nations
The
that argue-
Nazis.
Yeah, no, it's okay, let's go.
They would be
No,
African
it's not
against
semantics
African
because the
also.
Germans had an empire.
What's
Not
that
big.
got to do with
They had an
conversation?
empire. Before the
I just
Nazis.
on your definition of a criminal
They didn't do criminal activity.
what had to be described?
Committing a crime doesn't necessarily make you a criminal empire. So you could commit a crime.
You could, I mean, for instance, Zulu committed
No,
crimes against
you're lacking. First of all,
and
That's what I'm saying. You have to.
Why do you?
we are not discussing. It's a false equivocation. We're discussing the British Empire. There's nothing that Zulu has done.
And if anything,
the conversation was about Israel and
the colony,
and whether we can, whether it is a part of the Western
the Nazi anti-Semitism and political
No, just the example you just said.
is another attempt at deflection.
The Nazis just used anti-Jew sentiment
It's another attempt
as a
at
political
deflection.
support
No,
to
I
get
totally understand.
politically elected.
Yeah.
No, that makes
So in that sense, I'd
But
say.
the reason is not relevant. What the action is relevant.
I agree. But
And that's what makes them a criminal
in my
empire.
head,
Because I'm wanted by the police. So I don't want to.
The whole thing was. I'll go over it. Yeah.
But no, I appreciate it. You cannot. The only way I can say it.
The most
I can differentiate, like I said, this race.
You know, they say all you white guys look the same anyway.
No, it's nothing to do with that.
No, that's the thing.
No, it's not.
The moment
It's not.
exception
What it
one.
is,
The
what
moment
it
you
is, yeah,
exceptionalize
what
one
it is,
suffering,
yeah.
but the moment you exceptionalize one suffering over another, that is racism. That is saying because I'm X, my suffering is more important. And this is why, yeah, fair enough.
No.
Why
So
do
I
you
make
not
it.
think so?
I made it very, very clear, right? If anybody who goes and kills people that are not at war, they're killing them purely because of who they are. For example, the Native Americans. There's no difference whatsoever between what the Americans did to the Native Americans and what the Nazis did to
Finally
the
come to that realization.
I said that the first.
Finally come to that
You're not listening.
realization.
So my brother, why do
Because I
you,
said that a long time ago.
so my brother,
You don't listen much. Maybe it's not worth talking. Okay, go on.
why do you think the British went to, places like the, Caribbean, in Africa, in India? Why do you think they did that?
Say again.
Why do you think the British went to those empires, went to those countries? Why do you think they did?
Any empire building, you take over a place. That's what empire building
Yeah,
is.
but that's not war, though. That's not war. There's no war.
Well,
And having said that, German aggression was down to Lebensraum. German aggression was down to Lebensraum. That's a policy of expanding the German region for the German people. So there was a complicity.
That's what the Nazi thing was about.
Well, if you look at Hitler's, one of Hitler's main mantra was Lebensraum, to expand the German people. So he believed in purified race. Okay, so therefore, in a way, British colonialism was kind of handed through a moral supremacy as well.
You're not following the thing. He's capable of being specific when it comes to Germany and the Nazis, but when it comes to anything else, he has to be all-encompassing, general terminology. That's all kind of different things. It's a joke, yeah? And I understand exactly where I go on, because there's no question. There is no question about the fact that Britain was a criminal enterprise as an empire. There's no question about that.
Of course, if you're not willing to listen to people speak or even understand what they're saying, of course,
there's no question about that. Why is there a question about whether Britain was a criminal enterprise as an empire?
I think they did.
One of the worst colonial
Independence of the area and all empires and blah blah blah.
Belgian colonists was actually, Britain was actually known as the better colonialists on the Belgian and the French.
I don't think no colonialism was better, man. Come on, man. What the hell? No colonialism was better. Come on, man. I got colonized by three of them: France, Italy, and Britain. Look at the mistake they left.
All that happened is that you felt that you had the right to come and question on man's position on Palestine and Israel. That's all it is. And I'm saying to you that when it comes to these things, you don't seem to have the moral fortitude to look at Britain as an empire and charge it with its criminality. This is the point. Whereas you want to hold man to moral account in relation to Palestine and Israel. That is the point right now.
So now, can I ask you something? Shakra, for Somali speakers, do you think that the Israeli empire regime right now, what they're doing, is that genocide? Is that ethnic cleansing? Is that what, from the world's perspective? From your perspective, actually?
From everything that I've been able to study,
yeah,
most definitely. At least when it comes to Gaza, yeah. At the very least.
Yes.
But even beyond that, what I was initially saying, which may not have been caught on camera, is that Israel is part of the axis of Western imperialism.
Okay.
So it backs America and Britain and France and so on and so forth.
They all back
in
each other.
Criminality, they back each other.
They back
so
each other.
once you defend the criminals in their criminal activity, you are complicit. And Israel is complicit. Israel is complicit in American imperialism, French imperialism, and British imperialism. There's no doubt.
Big up Sharamaka, aka Shakra. Welcome back to Somali Speakers.